text, what's going to happen is it's going to tell that this is not a valid email format. Okay, that is when you are validating with HTML5. Additionally, if the user wants to add a upload a file option, so input type is equal to file, id is equal to user, document, placeholder, upload your documents. So, and close this and add the BR tag. Right. So when you click on choose file, automatically you will be able to upload the files online. Okay. So that is uploading a file with HTML. Yeah. And so, okay. So now we have button, select, option group and option. Let's see what these four do differently, and also text area. So when we have a single line input, then we can utilize input type text. But when we have multi-line input, so something more huger, so that point in time, what we can do is we can take the help of text area. So text area is equal to ID is equal to address, placeholder is equal to enter your address there. So now we have the text area done. Okay. So now this is a basic form. All right. So the very next thing is the button, select, option group and option. So what is a button? So as I told you guys, we can also utilize input type submit for button, or button type is equal to submit. So button has four different states. One is either submit, or just as a button, or just as a menu, or just as a reset button. Okay, so for this purpose we needed to submit. So button is equal to submit, and then you add the name for the button, submit. What this will do is it will add the submit button onto this page, and pretty much the option or the way the page works would be similar. Okay, so then we have the select button or select tag, right? So select tag is usually used to select variable inputs. So let's say select id is equal to state, city. So what option group will give you is give the ability to add the highlighted heading for the drop downs. Okay, so when we add Karnataka and refresh this, we'll be having the options that we have to add. Option Bangalore, option Hubli. And also, we'll also have to add a default class. So the drop down button is not strict. Choose a city. Okay. So when we, yeah. So now when we run it, it will be highlighted inside the page. Yeah. So opt group label is equal to Karnataka. Yeah. So let's see how this works. So choose a city. Then we have the option group, which is Karnataka. Then I have Hubli and Bangalore. And likewise, opt group label is equal to Chennai, Tamil Nadu, and the options for them could be Chennai and option Trichy. Yeah. So this will give me differently categorized states and their cities as a sub option. Okay. So this is utilizing select for displaying different drop down menus. So when we are passing these values to the database, what we do is we will be having a attribute called as option value. So whatever value that we pass over here, so for example, if this is Bangalore, then if you put a variable one, so one would be passed. Or let's say you want to put the name Bangalore itself. So this name will be passed at the time of the clicking the submit button. Okay, so that is the attribute that we'll be using for options in the select tag. Okay, so this could be Hubli. Value is equal to Chennai. Option value is equal to Tirchi. Okay, so this will give us the options for sending the values to the database. And finally, we have the meta tags that we'll be working on. When you look at the audio tag, what happens is we'll be creating the tag audio. We'll be telling that it's supposed to show the controls, and we'll be setting the source for the audio files. Source src is equal to file with the extension, the type of file. This is whether this is a mp3 file or this is a ogg file or any other audio format for that matter, audio/mpeg. So this is an mpg encoding, so I'm going to utilize audio/mpeg. So when you go to the browser and refresh this, so I'll get a media player with the appropriate player menus and options. So that is what the audio tag does. Audio media tag. So what we have is we have video controls and source. This is where we'll be adding the file for the video to be played. So source src is equal to bg.mp4, type is equal to video/mp4. Okay, so now we have a working video file. So now if you see, the dimensions of this file is out of bound, right? So in order to avoid this, what we'll do is we'll be adding some more tags, attributes to the video, telling width is supposed to be 300 and height would be 240. So then what happens when we load the page, the video is automatically stringed to fit the size. Okay, so this is about the working of the video tag. So finally, coming to the attributes of the HTML tags. So attributes are those keywords or those identifiers that add a certain functionality to a HTML tags. So there are tag specific attributes and there are global attributes as such. So some global attributes include class, ID, style, title, hidden, and data action attributes. So what is a class attribute? So let's say I have a division and I need to style it. Okay, so if I need to add some design to it, I can do it with the help of a style attribute. So which is common for, or which is a global attribute, or I can also utilize a class and call the class name over here. So class name. So where is this class name defined? So this class name is defined either in the style tag or in the external CSS. So when we call that, this will be pulling the class name over here and displaying the appropriate styles that is required. So that is when we use class. So class is a global attribute which is available for all the elements in the viewport. Okay. So after class name, we have the ID attribute. So ID attribute is used to identify the elements uniquely on the viewport. So ID attribute plays a major role when we are working with Java. So this is because majority of the elements that we pull or elements that we take is taken with the help of the ID attribute. Okay, for instance, you can have input type is equal to text value, ID is equal to common, so or ID is equal to name is equal to first name. So this way we can find the element uniquely on the entire viewport. So name could be multiple. The name of a element could be same, but then when we have the ID, two different elements having the same ID, then the browser will throw a warning telling non-unique ID. So that's why we always utilize ID to fetch unique elements. This makes it easy for us to retrieve data with the help of scripts like jQuery or JavaScript. So next thing that we have is style. So style, just like class, div style is equal to. So instead of adding the styles over here, for example, let's say I have a ID is equal to section 1. So instead of styling it like this for section 1, so what this will give me, what I can do with the help of style is I can directly add the inline style for this particular element. Sort of like style is equal to background color hashtag something and so on. So style is basically used to adding the inline styles for the element. Okay, so it is almost similar to the working of class or working of the internal style sheet, but this is utilized specifically for this particular element. So that is your style global attribute. So then we have title. So when we have button and type is equal to button, so what you guys can do is you can add title. So this will tell what this particular button is doing or what is the reason for the button to be here. Just a simple clicking button. So when you hover over the button, so what's going to happen is it's going to show the title for it telling just a simple clicking button. Okay, that is the title attribute. So then we have the hidden attribute. So we'll just say you not want this to be visible. So you can just add hidden and the element will be hidden from the viewport. Okay. And finally, we have the data action attribute, which is denoted as data hyphen star. So when we are working with the HTML, so it will look somewhat like this. Data type is equal to text, value is equal to 20 and hyphen action. So in place of star, we can add any user defined values. For example, data check. So what this will do is this will pull some values that